Boy, oh boy, I figured it out. I got me a camera stand, put my phone on it, got me some AirPods for some decent video, decent audio, all set up for a video podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, that's not the point. The point of today's video is to go over something that I believe is very important because my focus is on young men and try to help build a self-confidence because I feel like that is where I struggled with, currently am struggling still, for a long time. And I just want to give back and help out. So I feel like that is my purpose. I don't know. We're figuring this out as I'm making this up as I go along. But basically, it turns out that a lot of guys that are insecure have something called attachment style issues. Adam Lane Smith, who is an attachment style specialist, was a therapy and counselor for many years, working with a lot of young men, noticing a lot of issues they have with attachment in their romantic relationships that stem from childhood, which is really the root cause of their insecurity. But today's video is not necessarily about attachment styles, but it's more about how to kind of help resolve the issue, at least for the men case. Essentially, for men, in order to resolve their insecurity and to get them out of their depression or self-isolation and things like that, what they really have to do is act and be able to conduct themselves through their purpose, essentially. That's really the only thing. Like, we can try to talk about our feelings to a certain extent. That is helpful. It is going to heal. It helps regulate the emotions, but it's not actually going to cure the depression or the lack that we feel internally. All men have this instinctual drive of wanting to leave an impact on the world around them through whatever means, through whatever gift that they can give. That's really where that fulfillment comes from. Actually, and I'll cover this again in an attachment video, but it looks like when they did studies back when men were hospitalized back in some war. You do a little more research on it. But essentially, even though the doctors tried their best to motivate them, nothing truly worked. But when the city or the people were endangered, or where they actually needed men to operate the trucks to help put out fires, things like that, the men actually got better. Not just mentally and emotionally better, but physically, the ailments started to heal faster once they had a purpose in place. It's amazing. But essentially, we have to commit ourselves to our purpose in order to pull ourselves out of our despair. The problem is, though, you can't really identify what your purpose is unless you have a good sense of who you are. And you can't really have a good sense of who you are if you lack self-respect or really lack any knowledge about yourself, if you fail to ask the deeper questions, which is why I'm bringing this up. Because I feel like a lot of men, the reason why they are so depressed and isolated nowadays is because they feel like they have no purpose to their lives, and a lot of them don't. A lot of these modern society is taking care for us nowadays. So unless you actively try to seek a purpose for yourself, you're probably not going to have one. Hence why I'm making this video. But here's a couple of ways to help try to find that fulfillment in your life, right? So here's how the cycle kind of works, is that for someone who's insecure, what you need to do is figure out a way of get more clear about who you are and garner more self-respect. And in doing so, that clarity will reveal to you what your purpose is. And then that purpose you can use and act it out in order to get fulfillment in your life. So essentially, in order to start the first part of the process, was to actually build knowledge, self-knowledge, and self-respect, you have to be proud of the choices that you make in your own life. Meaning that you're not going to respect yourself if you don't respect the choices that you make. So for example, if you feel bad about eating bad all the time or not working out, or you feel bad, you feel like you don't even know how to talk to people, well then you need to put effort in those categories to start bettering your life. I know there's a whole self-improvement spiel that everyone's like, oh my God, it's so overrated, self-improvement, blah, blah, blah. It's important, especially if you feel like there's attributes in your life that you can improve. You need to improve it because that's your responsibility, and that's really your purpose in life, is to improve those aspects. Because once you are good yourself individually, that empowers you to start helping other people. So that's why it's so important. But just to go ahead and get the boat started, really the best way you can do that is to start thinking about people that inspire you, that you admire yourself personally. Like for me, for example, I deeply admire psychologist Jordan Peterson, which I know he is a very controversial figure. I am well aware of that. I really don't know why though, because if you really listen to the message of what he's saying, none of it is truly harmful. He's not doing this trying to harm people. He's actually trying to do this to bring people together, to bring people out of their misery and despair, and really create a better world that's better for everybody. So I'm really not sure why he's hated so much. For those that actually listen to him and his content that he provides, not just listen to whatever people say about him on Twitter. But really, the reason why I respect him so much is because of his deep wealth of knowledge and expertise. He has bravery to stand up to the crowd and speak to what he believes to be true, right? Very well spoken, very articulate. And he has a higher purpose in mind for what he's doing. Like, he's not doing this for his own self-aggrandizement. He's doing this because he sees a lot of young men, no, not even young men, women too, a lot of people in pain from the world that they're in, and he's trying to provide some kind of guiding light, something that they can chase. Like, for example, clean up your room. He's not saying that because you have a dirty room, even though you probably do, but it's more about like gaining momentum and tackling the small problems of your life. So that way that gives you courage to start tackling the bigger ones that you have. Like, it lets you see that you have agency in your life to start making choices for yourself, constructive choices, and that you do have power, and it changes you to have an internal locus of control and get you out of the victimhood mentality. It's baby steps. Like, there's wisdom in the words that he's saying. But he also has a way of seeing how things are connected and wants to find a better meaning for himself and benefit for others, which all these points I said, like, it's what things, the reasons why we admire people or hold people in high regard is because they have attributes that we wish to have ourselves, or that we currently do have that we would like to showcase or utilize more. So like I said, deep wealth of knowledge and experience. I like to read articles and books, learning more about psychology and how people work and why people work. Bravery to stand up to the crowd and believe what is true. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this, is that that's really what I want to do, is try to start, I guess, speaking life into people. Like, I don't know, I took a spiritual gifts test a few months ago, because I am a Christian, and it said that I had the spiritual gift of exhortation, which is this gift of encouragement, basically, of help motivating and inspiring people, which I feel like I've always had that like my entire life, but I've never really had like a great avenue to really pursue it, or I've always stopped myself from pursuing it, and I'm trying to change that now. So yeah, so I'm working on that, and that's why I'm providing this video. But he, like I say, he's very well spoken, very articulate. Like, people say I'm a very articulate person, which is awesome. Thank you for saying that. It took me a while to try to work on this. In fact, when I was little, I had like a really bad stuttering problem. Like, I stuttered like every other word because my mind was just moving so fast, and I'm just trying to spit my ideas out as fast as possible. But they just weren't comprehending me. So like, my parents taught me, Nick, just take a second, slow down. You don't have to automatically speak as soon as a thought enters your mind. You can take some time to gather your thoughts first and then say what you want to say. My stuttering problem was almost resolved like a few days or like a couple weeks after that. Like, it's amazing how just me taking a couple seconds to think about how I want to say really kind of changed things, and be more well-read and just start speaking more, start practicing, and having been forced. I worked in a sales job, like being forced to explain my ideas and points better just by practicing. It forces you to become a more articulate person. But truly, it's like all these factors that make Jordan Peterson such a formidable and respected person are also aspects of myself that I want to develop. And so knowing that about myself, the reason why I admire him is because I also have these traits, or I desire these traits for myself. I now have a path in life, or a goal of like, okay, all the choices that I make needs to be stemmed from these foundational principles of being able to articulate myself well, having a lot of knowledge, being well read, and having a lot of experience, as well as being able to be courageous and speak up and stand for what I believe to be true, what I believe to be important. And that in itself will develop a stronger character within me, and then put me on a life path. For example, hopefully being a good podcaster, or a good public speaker, or just a good mentor for young men. That help kind of iron out a path for me as I make these life choices that are in line with my principles. And now I have more bolstered self-respect and self-confidence by making choices that I myself respect, and that put me on a good path in life, and puts me on a fulfilling path in life because I'm reaching out and helping other people. So hopefully, if I stay on this path, this will continue the cycle of reinforcing my self-esteem, then reinforcing my character, and that reinforces my purpose, which that reinforces the benefit that I can share with other people. That's what it comes down to. And that's what brings men out of depression and sadness. It's not, I mean, talking about your feelings is an important part of the process, but you can't get stuck there. You also can't get stuck with, like, just ignoring and stuffing your feelings by escapism, playing video games, eating food, trying to go through like dating or sex, or trying to use any other methods of escapism to overcome your problems. You have to be able to face them directly with a plan and work with other people that are on your life path to help support you and make sure the choices that you make are in line with your principles and who you are as a person. If you don't know who you are as a person, think of some people that you admire, write down 2 or 3 traits you admire about that person, and realize the reason why you like those traits is because you inherently have those traits, or those are traits that are very important for you to develop. And that's your purpose in the short term, is to work on those. And then you'll start getting more clarity about who you are and what your purpose is down the line. But yeah, anyway, I think that's it. Enough for this episode. I'm probably gonna post this on like all my social media, including the podcast itself. Just try it out, see how it goes. I'm field testing this as much as anybody else nowadays. I'm hoping that this is important and that you learn something from this. I really do want to be a good role model for not just men, but all people of all types. Because I do believe fundamentally that how we relate to one another and how we put ourselves out there, how we show up authentically, is going to be how we live our best lives and share our gifts with other people. So yeah, but tune in next time for the next long monologue that I'll do. I definitely want to have some more guests on the podcast as well, so I'm not just monologuing to my camera by myself, because I think I'm doing a decent job, but I think it'd be more fun having a second person to bounce ideas off of and stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good week. I'll see you later. Deuces.